It was a dark and stormy night, the kind of night that made you want to curl up under a blanket and hide from the world. Rachel had always been a bit of a scaredy cat, so she was especially grateful to be spending the evening with her friends at a cozy bed and breakfast in the countryside. As the group sat around the fireplace, swapping spooky stories and sipping hot cocoa, the owner of the B&B, a kind old man named Mr. Jenkins, told them about the history of the house. "This place has been in my family for generations," he said, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "And over the years, we've had our fair share of ghostly encounters." Rachel's heart skipped a beat as Mr. Jenkins went on to tell them about the ghosts that haunted the halls of the bed and breakfast. There was the ghost of a young woman who had died in childbirth, her cries echoing through the corridors at night. There was the ghost of a soldier who had been killed in the Civil War, his footsteps heard pacing the floors above. And then there was the most terrifying ghost of all, the ghost of a murderer, who had killed his entire family in a fit of rage and now roamed the house, seeking out new victims. As Mr. Jenkins finished his story, the lights flickered and the wind howled outside. Rachel's friends laughed and teased her for being scared, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her. After saying goodnight to their host, the group retired to their rooms. Rachel's room was on the top floor, and as she climbed the creaky stairs, she couldn't help but feel like someone was following her. When she finally reached her room, she locked the door behind her and crawled into bed, pulling the covers up to her chin. But sleep did not come easily. Rachel tossed and turned, her mind racing with thoughts of ghosts and ghouls. And then, just as she was drifting off, she heard a noise. At first, she thought it was just the wind, but as the noise grew louder, she realized that it was coming from inside the room. She sat up in bed and listened, her heart racing. The noise sounded like footsteps, soft but steady, coming closer and closer to the bed. Rachel's body went cold with fear as she realized that the ghost of the murderer was in the room with her. She tried to scream, but no sound came out of her mouth. She tried to run, but her legs wouldn't move. She was trapped, alone with the ghost. As the footsteps grew louder, Rachel closed her eyes and prayed for it to be over. And then, just as she thought she couldn't take it anymore, the footsteps stopped. She opened her eyes to see the ghost standing at the foot of the bed, its face twisted into a grotesque snarl. Rachel tried to scream again, but all that came out was a whimper. But then, something strange happened. The ghost's expression softened, and it looked almost sad. It reached out a hand, as if to touch Rachel's face, and then it vanished. Rachel sat in bed, shaking and sobbing, for what felt like an eternity. When she finally gathered the courage to get up and leave the room, she found her friends waiting for her in the hallway. "Are you okay?" they asked, concern etched on their faces. Rachel couldn't bring herself to speak. She just nodded and let them lead her back.